Hello, guys. My name is Tariana, and welcome to episode 2 of Introvert's Closet. We will be discussing all things in the English and literature world, and even pertaining sometimes to filmmaking. Anyway, guys, I have been just so busy as of late, just working like the rest of us. But I had a goal set for this year, and that was to read 100 books in a year. But baby, we're not anywhere near getting to reading that. But I did want to go through a list of books that I have read so far. I'm currently reading this really good book by the author Sarah Young, and it's called Jesus Listens. And if you are a believer, I would definitely say check it out in your spare time. And if you're not, I would say, anyways, check it out in your spare time. It's just very encouraging about um, having a consistent prayer life and not really underestimating prayer, even though that you may feel like God is not listening to your prayers. So I would definitely like encourage you guys to dig in and to read it and, acknowledge God and let him acknowledge you. However, before this, excuse me, so, the very, very first book that I'm going to be talking about is a book that's called No Disrespect by Sister Soldier. Um, how do I want to start this? The book was good. Like, I believe it was Sister Soldier's debut novel, and basically it just talks about her years in college and just certain people, because with each chapter there's a name of a person, and whether that person was like her lover or some of her girlfriends, and just what lessons I guess you could say that she learned throughout that. And honestly, I would recommend that you guys read it. The book is honestly a 10 out of 10 for me. I loved it. um I personally own this book, and it was just incredible. Like, I loved it. It was a really good, fast paced read with a lot of, lessons in it pertaining to relationships and friendships. And so I would definitely recommend that you guys read it. And, and if you have read it, let me know what you think down in the comment section. But, yeah, that was a pretty good book. The next book that I would say that I read is a book by Tanisha Stewart, and it's called Everybody Ain't Your Friend. This book, honestly, is giving like just the title alone is giving Lifetime. And you can already, because she has two friends in this book, and you can already like suspect that the main character, who, if I'm not mistaken, I think her name is Mia, um, is just kind of living her life, working, pretty girl, got a boyfriend, and is just living her life. And it's like her so-called one of her so-called friends basically takes her on a ride before she could even put her seatbelt on. So, yeah, that is a very interesting read. And I'm gonna be honest, the book low key is all over the place. Like, it's a lot to unpack. So if you are into the urban fiction and just into that whole thing, I would definitely recommend that you check it out and read it. It's a pretty fast-paced read. I literally read it in like 2 days. Like, it was that good. So it was a pretty solid book. I would recommend it. Personally, I think I would give it like a 6 out of 10. It wasn't bad, but it could have been a little better. The next book is Sister Soldier's The Coldest Winter Ever. Getting into this book, honestly, guys, was just really interesting, because I had seen that it was so many young women who were just like, yeah, girl, I read that book like when I was 18, when I was 15, when I was 14, stuff like that or whatever. So it seemed like a lot of women of color have came across this book and have read it, and even have had to hide from their parents that they were reading this book. But that book, it was good, but the main character was getting on my nerves. Like, girl, there is more to life than shopping. Like, sis was getting on my nerves, like, for real. It was just really sad, like, how her life just kind of took a turn for the worst. I was really trying to hold out hope that, you know, something would change, but it just, I guess some people are just stuck in their ways. And from what I've heard about Sister Soldier's other books, it just kind of seems like Winter is just kind of a, you know, a character that's just really not worth giving any more energy to, because it's like this child just never grows up. She is just stuck in her little spoiled ways, and basically if doing too much was a person, it would be her. um Anyways, but there were a lot of things that Winter went through personally that I feel like really should have humbled her and had her like grow as a character, but she didn't. She just kind of like glided through life, and it was just like screw everybody else, and she just always thought about herself. She never really thought about her friends, her family, nothing. It was just like she was a spoiled brat. And to be honest, like The Coldest Winter Ever was a interesting book, but to be honest, I don't think it's a book that I would pick up again. And it's crazy because I personally own it, but or I don't know, maybe I'm lying, but I would give the book like a 7 out of 10. There were a lot of just extremely over descriptive things in the book that I just feel like is not really necessary. So anyways, child, moving on. Is another book by Sister Soldier, but I'm gonna be honest. The Coldest Winter Ever and No Disrespect were interesting, and it made me really want to dig more deep into Sister Soldier's like works when it comes to her books and stuff like that. So I decided to pick up Midnight: A Gangsta Love Story. And this book, honestly, I did not like it. I didn't like it for a number of reasons, because I felt like the main, not the main character, I felt like Sister Soldier was sending out the wrong message, if that makes sense. Like, I just felt like she was uplifting women from another community and putting down women of color, and making it seem like we're all very promiscuous and have attitudes and are just like terrible women, you know, with all this trauma and baggage, when that's really not the case. And it just really seemed like the main character, Midnight, was just a big hypocrite. I did not like him. I didn't like him, and I just felt like it was very unrealistic for her to be having a 14-year-old boy who is 6'5". Like, I'm not saying that these things are not like believable, but it's just like it's very uncommon, I guess. And I guess she tried to make him a very unique character, but Midnight was very, very much a narcissist in this book. I did not like him. I felt like he was different from the Midnight that was introduced in The Coldest Winter Ever. I felt like it was a shift, it was a change. And I really don't like when authors incorporate too much of their own personal morals and beliefs into a story, because I feel like at this point, girl, you should have just made the book about yourself. Like, I don't like that. If you're going to write a fictional book, then it needs to be fictional and leave it there. But I just felt like there were too many things about herself personally that she was adding into this story. And I just didn't like it. I did not like it. And the book was just extremely long for no reason. And then I went to my local library and I went to the urban fiction section, and I seen her other works pertaining to the Midnight series. And the book is bigger than the last one. And it's just like, girl, who's about to sit here and read all that? Like, that is a lot. It's just a lot. But yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I did the Midnight: A Gangsta Love Story. I did not like it. I didn't like it. It was just too much going on, and I don't know how you carry on a relationship with somebody that does not speak the same language as you, because after a while I would get irritated. We need to be able to communicate and understand each other. And I just didn't like that. I didn't like that. I don't know how she published this and got away with that, but I still like Sister Soldier, but I don't know. It's probably going to be a very, very long time before I review any of her other works, because I just feel like the book the books that she has been putting out lately is just not good, and she just needs to go back to the drawing board and just give me something with some sort of style or some sort of like interesting story and plot line that does. Honestly, reading Midnight Against the Love Story, like, it started out fine, like the book was fine, but it's like when you got to the middle, to the very end of the book, that's when it just became ridiculous, and I was just like, girl, you could have ended this book like 250 pages ago. But that's just me. I wasn't a fan of the next one is a book by the author Paula Hawkins, and it's called A Girl on the Train. I'm sure that majority of people that will come across my channel probably has seen the movie. And the interesting thing is that I had seen the movie maybe like a year after it came out. I know that the original film came out in 2016, and I loved the film. It was very interesting. And the book was good too, but it was just certain parts that were just like a drag. And I'm like, girl, get to the point. But I will say that this book was well written and in a way kind of unforgettable. I definitely could see myself sitting down and reading this book again. It was very interesting. I already knew who the person was that did you know, the offing. I already knew who it was simply because I seen the movie first. But I think that the way Paula Hawkins wrote The Girl on the Train was very concise. The text was very clear. And overall, I would say that I would rate this book like a good like 8 out of 10. And it's definitely a book that I would sit down and read again. Oh, and I realized the previous book, Midnight, that book I would rate probably a 4 out of 10. It was just too long and too boring, just to sum it up. Anyways, back to this book. I just thought the characters were very interesting, and how the author was able to connect 3 different women into a very interesting situation. It was just like, it just seemed like the main character, who is a woman who is struggling with alcoholism, and she uses alcohol to kind of like escape from her problems. It just seems like in this book, she is like representing the past, and then it's like the other woman, who well, let me start by saying this. There's 3 women, right? There is Rachel, Anna, and Megan. Megan is a woman who ends up dead. Anna is the new wife to the husband of Rachel's ex-husband, and Rachel is just an alcoholic, middle-aged woman with a lot of issues because of the fact that she's so hurt that her marriage didn't work out, and she is just struggling mentally, and she was just being gaslit and manipulated in the worst way, basically. And so Anna is the new wife, and she just seems like, like she's the pretty woman, girl next door, kind of quiet, very submissive, all of that. And then Megan just seems like she is a tortured soul, honey. Like, she's married. It's like she's almost unappreciative of her life until you kind of dig into the background and get into the mud of her back history, her backstory. And it was fairly sad, I will say. But Paula Hawkins, I would say, did a really, really good job The only thing is that I just kind of felt like there were some parts that just could have been explained well better, to the point, because I hate reading books where it's just extremely boring. I don't care if it's the beginning, the middle, or the end of the story. If it's just boring, it's just like so I just wish that she would just kind of tidy up on that a little bit. But Paula Hawkins is definitely an author that, like, I would check out her other works, and I really enjoyed it. Everybody in the story was just a hot mess, and I'm just glad that everything was revealed, because it just seemed like these women were just losing their minds, like, literally. From Rachel to Anna to Megan, it was just like they were all just losing their minds. And I'm like, y'all need to get it together, okay? Y'all are too grown to be acting like this. And the crazy thing is that even though that this is a fictional story, purely probably from the mind of the author, these are real things that can happen in real life. And people need to really go and get help, and to stop acting like stuff is not wrong with them, because there's something wrong. And I just really appreciated that Paula Hawkins kind of like delved into the background of each woman, and just like the how they were all being impacted by one person. And that just kind of lets you know that some people do not deserve the folks that are in their life, because they just use and abuse them. So if you have not checked out The Girl on the Train, I would definitely recommend that you check it out, and you guys can let me know what you think, and we can, possibly have a little dialogue, a little conversation in the comments, and just let me know what you think. Or if you have already read the book, then great. And because I've read the book and I've seen the movie, so if you kind of dove into both lanes, cool. If you just did one or the other, that's fine too, but just definitely let me know what you think. But yes, I would rate The Girl on the Train an 8 out of 10, and it is definitely a book that I will pick up again. The next book is called The Man in My Basement by Walter Mosley. This book, like, to be honest, guys, the book was really good to me. It was really, really good. I really loved it. It was an easy read, and I'm kind of like quickly becoming a fan of Walter Mosley. I loved it. I felt like everything was, understood very well. But it was like the movie felt very, very flat. It's like whoever directed the movie, and I believe it was a woman. I just think that she didn't really know which lane she wanted to take, because it was very confusing. It was very clear in the book that this man, the main character, definitely had like mental health issues, but it was just like they didn't really know what kind of like lane that they wanted to take. And I'm starting to believe that the man in the basement was not even real. I think it was just purely the main character's imagination. And it's like, okay, so I did not like the movie. I thought the movie was beautifully filmed, but the direction that they headed, baby, I didn't like it. It was too much going on. Too much. And I just think that the movie, I don't plan to watch it again. However, the book, I would definitely say that I will pick up again, and I would rate the book a 9 out of 10. The Man in My Basement is definitely a book I would read again, and I am so excited because I think like 2 weeks ago I went to my local library and got another, I think like maybe 2 or 3 books by Walter Mosley, because he seems to be more of like a mystery novelist, and the way that he writes is just impeccable, and it's understandable. The text is clear, it's concise, it's well written. You can tell that Walter Mosley definitely is a man that takes his time when it comes to his work. Some people may disagree with me. I don't really care. At the end of the day, I like Walter Mosley, and if I happen to come across a book that he don't like, trust and believe, I would definitely let you guys know. The next one is The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. I I had watched the movie years ago, and kind of throughout the years, like from the time I was a little girl up until now, like I love the movie The Lovely Bones. Like it is well executed, well acted by all of the actors, well directed, well filmed, everything. Like I absolutely love The Lovely Bones, the movie. However, the book just really fell flat for me. I didn't like it. The next book is called Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I hope I pronounced her name correctly. This book was interesting. Like, don't get me wrong, I loved the direction that the book went, but I felt like at the same time there were just it just didn't really give like I love the idea and the concept of the story, but I did not like the transitions between the story because it made it seem like it just made everything seem like it was happening so fast. Like I just didn't like it. In the trial or whatever, I felt like the trial and everything was well explained and well executed, but I wanted to know, how did this girl commit this murder? Like I really wish that she would have went into detail about that, and how did she escape without nothing being traced back to her. Like I'm just like, girl, how did you pull that off, you know? So if you guys have read the book, then you understand what I'm talking about. But and yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I think that I would give this book a 5 out of 10. And I don't know. I don't really know if this is a book that I would read again, but to be honest, I don't think so. And then last and certainly not least, the last book is called Looking for Alaska by John Green. Looking for Alaska was a very interesting read, because my little sister has said that there are schools and even libraries that are trying to ban this book, and I'm just like, is it that bad? Like what? Like why? So I picked it up, got it from the library, finally opened it and read it, and it was very interesting. I loved the way that the main character told the story, and it's like a young man who's in boarding school, and he meets like a few friends, and one of the friends that he meets is a girl named Alaska, and he's like just so infatuated with this girl and just thinks that she's the most beautiful girl in the world. Low key, I wish somebody felt it way better than me. Anyways, um but this girl, like, she smokes cigarettes, she drinks, and it's very obvious that Alaska has a lot of like eternal issues. And it just seemed like that's something that the main character can move past, but he is able to like kind of connect with her in a way. But she has a boyfriend, and she hooks him up with another girl who ends up like they end up like he ends up sexually experimenting with this girl or whatever. And I guess that was the part that I guess a lot of parents and people didn't find appropriate with this book, but it's a part of life. Like, people sexually experiment, you can't run from it forever. It's just what it is. But anyways, it was just interesting, but it was good. Like, it was a good, interesting, like the story flowed really, really well together. And to be honest, Looking for Alaska, I feel like is a book that I would read again, just for the deep message behind it. There is tragedy, there is like talks of suicide, there is a mentioning of a offing of someone. But to be honest, to sum it up, I would say that Looking for Alaska reminds me of the film My Girl, but like a more older trauma type story or whatever. Because with My Girl, it was like there was like a sense of innocence, you know what I'm saying? And these kids, I think like the boy and the girl in the movie My Girl were like 10, maybe 11 years old, you know what I'm saying? So at that time, like, most people still, like, most kids still have their innocence at that time. And is, that's close around the age where you start to feel different about a boy, and boys start to feel different about girls and stuff like that. So yeah. I would say that this book, I would give it a 9 out of 10. Looking for Alaska is definitely a read that people really need to sit down and read it and be open-minded. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't say don't be too open-minded to everything, but definitely be open-minded with this story. I think it's a very, very beautiful, well-written story. So shout out to you, John Green. But yes, anyways, that is the few books that I have read this year, and I will be sharing more if you guys are interested. But definitely recommend books that you guys have read that you may think that I may be interested in reading. I'm open to just pretty much reading anything. I just cannot do anything that is too disturbing to my soul. Like, I don't like to read stuff that is pertaining to essay. I can't watch it. I can't read it. It's too much, like, there's some books that I'm trying to get introduced to because the word choices that people be using, and it's like, there wasn't a more PG version that you could have used. But don't let nobody discourage you to tell a story the way that you want it to be told. Again, I am your host, Tariana, and thank you for coming to my channel of this episode of Introvert's Closet. I hope you guys have a lovely, beautiful, blessed day. Bye-bye.